And now I am live everywhere else. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our finale of the Manifesting Challenge. If you've been with me all along, welcome. How has your manifestation gone? This is a very special, special day because it's the last time I'm going to be checking in with this new moon to new moon manifesting challenge. It is the new moon again. We have come full circle. So, what does that mean for us? How can we gain how can we gain value from this experience? I'm going to share this in one or two places because I think it is worth doing. And I want to make sure people see that it's on. I know Facebook notifications have been slow. If you're watching the replay, let me know that you're watching the replay. Just, I don't know, clue me in. This is our last week. We have been meeting now for 4 total weeks. This would be the start of the 5th week. New moon to new moon, 28 days. I believe this is day 29 because I think we started the day before the new moon last time. We started on a Wednesday rather than a Thursday. What has your challenge been like for you? What have you learned from it? This is where I want us to compare notes. I want us to learn from ourselves and each other, and I'm going to be asking you some very particular questions to help you get value out of this challenge. Because often when it comes to things like manifesting, there can be a tendency to grade ourselves pass fail, right? I got the thing I wanted, I didn't get the thing I wanted. And that's useful in that, as I've been saying since the beginning, it's helpful to make your goals, even witchy manifestation goals, measurable. So at the end, you can identify if you met your goal. The reason that's useful is not because you're a big failure if you didn't hit your exact goal. It's because it's information that's going to help you, right? We should be getting better at this, not just at whatever thing we're trying to manifest. If we want to get better as co-creators of our own reality, if we want to get better at going after things, naming goals, setting our sights on something and moving towards it, then we need to have some data, right? I mean, I know that's a very Virgo thing to say. We need to have some data. So the data is, what was your goal? And the answer shouldn't be yes, no. Did I get it? Did I not get it? But how close did I get? Hey Shashvat, it's good to see you, but I am not reading cards today. I am closing out a manifesting challenge that we have been doing every Thursday. So tune back in on Saturday, Eastern time here in New York. That's going to be at 11 a.m. Eastern time. So convert the time zone as needed. And I'll be back reading cards again on Saturday for the Witchy Weather Report. Everyone who's been manifesting along with me, let's talk about what we've learned. So that's what I want to do. I want us to treat this as a course we just took. And this is the day at the end of the class, like at the end of the full class session, where we recap, where we look back on our month and we look at what we have learned and we have some takeaways. And I'm hoping that those takeaways can be at least a little bit actionable for you. And I don't mean a big to-do list. What I mean is I want us to have a takeaway along the lines of, oh, you know what? I often set goals that are too big for the amount of time I give them. And maybe I can break them up further, and maybe that will help me actually hit my goals in the future instead of living in this cycle of I want to hit it, I'm disappointed. I want to hit it, I'm disappointed, right? Or, maybe that's not your problem. Maybe it's like I set a goal and it was too easy and I hit it on day 2 and I realized that that didn't give me a satisfying experience because I could have aimed higher. Or maybe it's about, okay, the way that this is going to work for me is not going to be based on my willpower and pushing myself to do something every day. It's going to be based on me creating habits that are supportive of it, right? We can learn from what we did accomplish and from what we did not accomplish. We can learn like, oh, I knocked that out of the park, therefore what worked? We can learn, oh, I didn't knock that out of the park. I got partway there. What did work and what didn't work? That's a twofold lesson, right? If we got partway, if we marked some progress. And if we look back and go I'll be honest with myself, I blew it. we can learn from that too. And I hope we'll look at it as a learning experience rather than an opportunity to self-flagellate, right? I hope we will look at it as an experience to say, what does this teach me about myself? Instead of just like, oh, I always get my hopes up and let myself down. That's a crappy lesson. Please don't take that lesson away ever. Let's take away a lesson of like, what didn't work about this for me? Different people have different things that keep them accountable to a goal. For some people, it's external accountability. People are obsessed with external accountability right now. I got to tell you, as an introvert and a questioner, doesn't work for me. External accountability does nothing but create more anxiety in my life. It does not make me more likely to actually hit a goal. And if it does work for you, I'm cheering you on. Do it. That's great. You know what I mean? But I'm telling you this to give yourself permission to learn things about yourself that don't necessarily align with like the current, mainstream thinking about what should work. Let's stop living our lives based on what we are told should work for us and start living our lives based on what really does work for us. Rules of thumb given to you by people who don't know you are exactly that. They may work for you because statistically they must work for some people, and they may not. And let's not view ourselves as the failure if they don't work. Let's just view it as like, well, maybe I'm an actual individual person and I have to dig deeper to see what works for me, right? Okay, I see some comments happening. Let's see what we got here in the comments. Hey, Patty Bell, how you doing? Patty Bell says, this manifestation challenge has been awesome. By the way, everyone, I'll finish reading Patty Bell's comment in a moment. If you're like, what is this? I'm excited about it. I want you to know the replays are all here. If you go back in my past videos and take a look, you will find 4 other manifesting videos because I did this new moon to new moon. So look about a month ago and you'll find the first one. And you can go through this at any time, by the way. I encourage you to revisit it. This is a cycle you can use again and again. Bookmark the videos. My gift to you. Let it be a journey you take every new moon. I've done a lot of new moon to new moon manifesting, and this is kind of the cycle I follow. So if you're tuned in and you're like, what is this? That's what it is. And the videos are there for you forever and ever. Amen. Okay, Patty Bell says, this manifesting challenge has been awesome. Over the past month, I have manifested mystical experiences. Yes. Oh, I love it. New offering and development. Joined a gym, met with trainer, new clients and new leads, more meditation, more dream recall and dream awareness, more psychic intuitive connection, feeling good. I want to call everyone's attention, whether you're watching this in real time with me, because I see a couple people tuned in, or whether, and by the way, if you're tuned in, like, say hi, drop a comment, let us know. We want to say hi to you. I want to call your attention to Patty Bell's use of the word more, because this is important. When I talk about us not grading ourselves pass fail, I don't want to hear from myself or others, okay, I set out to manifest. I often make this analogy with money, but it doesn't just have to be with money. It's just that money is a quantifiable thing, right? I set out to manifest $1,000 of, new income from my business, for example, right? And say you only made $520 that month, okay? You can look at that as I failed. I hope you don't. I hope instead you're like, okay, I $520 won and $480 did not make the cut. And then you start to question lovingly what it was that got you to that number and no further. It could be that was what you're capable of doing in that time, because you realize as you delve into this thing you're trying to manifest that it was going to take more from you than you initially thought, that it wasn't just about like oming real hard and feeling groovy, but that it was maybe about, actual tasks that take a certain amount of your time and you only have so many hours a day. And you know what? If that's the case, you should be thrilled about that $520. You should be like, wow, well, I did so much, because what you have accomplished is something you can build on. And again, this doesn't have to be just for money, right? If your goal, if you have a fitness goal, if you have a goal of exercising, if you have a goal of getting to a certain goal weight, whether it be up or down, if you have a goal of doing something special to your home so it feels like a supportive environment, then instead of grading ourselves pass fail, let's look very curiously for A, what we've accomplished, and B, how we can build on it, right? if we have that $1,000 goal, translates it into whatever, right? A 20-pound goal, a 3 times a week at the gym goal, a whatever, and we met it partially, let's look really carefully at what we did to make that partial win. And that's the first thing to do, is celebrate that partial win and acknowledge what we did to get ourselves there. And then, let's look at the other side of it. Was there something that stopped us from moving further? And often information comes up, and I'm not the one who's going to tell you it's excuses. I'm the one who's going to tell you it's information, right? If you're like, okay, well, I could have hit the rest of that goal, but I would have had to sacrifice sleep to do it. Well, that's not healthy or sustainable. I'm glad you didn't. Please don't sacrifice your sleep to reach goals, because it's not sustainable. You can't build on that. And I'm about building a sustainable cycle of life where we can go after our dreams in a way that supports us instead of in a way that feels like it's finals week every week. Because believe me, I spent my whole 20s living like it was finals week every week. I'm over it. I'm tired. I'm an elder millennial. My back hurts. All right. I see that there are some more comments, so I am going to take a look at these comments. Let's see. We got Grayson in the chat. Grayson, I stayed on track for health stuff, and I'm hopeful my next lab work will be better. Yes, I'm so excited. That's already huge, right? Because what you manifested was habits. And if you did habit change, and that's what I'm talking about a little bit, I'm coming back to Patty Bell using the word more meditation, more dream recall and dream awareness. This is for her a challenge that's not about like, I have a brand new goal and I'm going to make it happen overnight, but I'm going to work on these long-term goals that I know add value to my life. And so my goal doesn't become this exact amount and then I stop. My goal becomes expanding, increasing, continuing to flourish, continuing to spread. And Grayson's got a health goal, and Grayson, in my opinion, won the health goal, right? If you can win a goal, you know what I mean? Because Grayson's like, I stayed on track for my health stuff. I'm hopeful that my next lab work will be better. Grayson did exactly the right thing, which is stayed on track with with their goals of their behavior. By the way, anyone who's ever in the chat, if I ever misgender you and don't catch yourself, please tell me, because I want to do the right thing and call you what you need to be called by. Grayson was like, did all the things, did the things that Grayson committed to do, and now is waiting for the information, right? Okay, life is about trial and error. I put in XYZ effort. I made my commitment to myself and I kept it. And now I learn what XYZ effort gets me. And that information is what I'm talking about us looking at. Okay, we all know what we put in individually. And I don't want this to be a call for us beating ourselves up, because we've had a whole month now, right? So a month is time for reality to set in. And what I mean by that is it's time for us to acknowledge that the first week of a goal, willpower can get us through, right? People talk about this with New Year's goals all the time. Like the first couple of weeks of January at the gym are always really busy and annoying because people made their New Year's resolutions. But then by the end of the month, it's fine, because everyone who was kind of a resolution tourist is cooled off. And the people who are committed are staying committed. We've had a month. We've had new moon to new moon. So we have learned the things that we can do with willpower, and we have learned what is not sustainable with just willpower, right? Because we can't spend our whole life going like, oh, I'm going to do it. I'm going to push through. I'm going to push through. We can't be pushing every minute. That's awful. It's not fun. We make the commitments. We learn what our realistic efforts can get us. Then we look carefully and say, okay, if I committed to XYZ to get to A, and I only got to, I don't know, B+, right? Well, I learned that I made some progress, and now I need to think about how I can strategically change what I'm doing to close that gap. Sometimes it's literally nothing other than continuing to do what you're doing, right? Sometimes it's literally nothing other than like, okay, I know I'm making progress. Slow growth is sustainable growth. I will reach this goal if I continue at my current trajectory, right? Sometimes it is that something needs to give, and I'm here to tell you, it's usually not you and your willpower. And this is like the opposite of what everyone says, and I don't care. I'll be unpopular and let people hate me. It's not usually your willpower that needs to give. There's all these influencers who are like, oh, like give up the $5 on the Starbucks coffee every day, like ditch the Netflix habit, kids. And it's like, I gotta tell you, as a millennial in particular, at whom these criticisms are often aimed, I'm a workaholic. I can't remember the last time I watched a a series and completed it in a reasonable amount of time. It's very, very hard for me to sit down and spend time with something like Netflix because my mind is always like, what's the next predictive thing I have to do? What's the next thing on my to-do list? And it's hard for me to relax and enjoy it. That's not a desirable state. That's not that's not actually like, oh, good for me, I kicked the Netflix habit. No, that's living a life of anxiety, because we all need relaxation and we all need downtime and we all need treats and little things that make our day special. And if for you that is the $5 Starbucks coffee, you know what, it's $5. You're not going to die. And I'm not saying like rush out and buy a Starbucks subscription card and rush out and like subscribe to Netflix at the highest rate. I'm saying it's not usually willpower. It's usually an honest and compassionate look at our lives to ask ourselves what we can tweak. Because often, let's be real, we live in a society where we have to earn a living. We are no longer in a situation where one person in a household can work while another person cares for the house and, those types of tasks. Both parties have to be working if you're in a relationship, for example. And of course, relationships can take many forms and people may choose to be single forever. But we are in a situation now where each individual person is expected and kind of needs to work at least 40 hours a week. And often there's a side hustle on top of that. And on top of that, we have limited time to work on our goals and probably need to like de-fatigue ourselves from all the work we're doing, right? That's a real thing. So I'm not here to tell you like it's willpower that's going to push you through. I'm going to say it's smart tweaks, right? The tweaks that helped me leave my day job, among other things, were utilizing my time on my train ride to and from my day job to like do work, to do like a little bit of booking or something like that. Patty Bell says, and I love the expression, I know how to use 15 minutes. So knowing how to use 15 minutes of time. And like at the end, it was working from home one day a week. It was that I got permission to work from home one day a week, limiting that commute time and improving my mental health so that there was more of me to give to, like building my income as a self-employed person. So that's what made it work. It wasn't willpower. It wasn't me going like, I'm going to push through. No, the willpower is at the beginning. And then when you get to the real point, which is where I hope we all are with our manifestation. And I'm sorry, I know this is a lecture. I'm going to like start reading everyone's comments and like talking more specifically about our individual experiences. But this is important to me to share with you today. Right now, I'm hoping 1 month into seriously thinking about this, every week, every day. If you're on the Patreon, we've been talking pretty much every day about, small things we can think about towards our goal. So if you've been on this 1 month of a train of being goal-oriented, you already know willpower will get you a certain amount, and that's when the rubber hits the road, because that's when you have to do more than willpower. You have to say, oh, you know what? It's not just going to be about willpower. I'm going to have to make practical changes that support this. It might be sacrifice, and that's the one everyone's always telling us to make, right? Well, make the sacrifice, like start charging people $40 to mow their lawn, so that you can make the extra money. Give up that avocado toast, millennials, We get a lot of pushes to make sacrifices, and it's for a really particular reason. It's because it benefits the current capitalist paradigm. I said it. It benefits the current capitalist paradigm to keep us feeling like it's our fault, instead of acknowledging that there are systemic things that make life hard for many of us at this time. And this is not me saying be a complainer and sit and be complacent, because that's not me. I'm a very goal-oriented person. It means that willpower and sacrifice I have not found to be effective means towards reaching goals, but I have found them to be effective ways that advertisers keep us spending money with them. So I encourage you, instead of focusing on willpower and sacrifice, to look for habits and supportive tweaks and practical changes you can make that will give you a little bit of mileage each day, just a little boost from where you are now. Because again, we're talking about trajectory here. That's where it's at, is trajectory. Are you on a trajectory that can snowball and build on itself? And if the answer is yes, then you've already won. All right. Hey, Jay, how you doing? Okay. Oh gosh, I hope I'm on my right Instagram. Am I on the Sassafras Tarot Instagram? I hope I am. It's been a day, folks. Okay. I see some of these comments. I want to see what people have learned and gained from this manifesting thing. So I'm going to scroll up and look at some of these comments. Okay. So Patty Bell, we already read. Patty Bell has like knocked it out of the park, like surprising absolutely no one because this is not Patty Bell's first rodeo. Patty Bell is someone I view as a mentor and just an awesome human who, as I mentioned, knows how to use 15 minutes and knows how to set a goal that makes sense. So Patty Bell has new mystical experiences, joined a gym, met with a trainer, a very concrete action on health, new clients, new leads, more meditation, more dream recall. I think that's huge. I love these goals that are like more things, more of the thing that I love, more of the thing that I know fills my cup. I love just allowing ourselves to want more because I think sometimes we're really, really pressured to be like, no, it's fine. It's fine. I can get by. Okay, Grayson stayed on track for health stuff. I'm giving Grayson a gold star and saying that therefore Grayson won the manifesting challenge, as Patty Bell did. So far, 2 gold stars have been doled out. Patty Bell says, can't wait to hear the results. Neither can I. Grayson says, Rory, maybe mention Luminous Tarot app for further moon manifestations. Yeah, so one of the things we've been doing in the Patreon is every day I've kind of been throwing out different ideas as they come to me for, honestly, things I'm doing for my own goal setting, right? And stuff like that. And what we can all collectively do as manifesting practices. And one of the things I love is the Luminous Tarot app. You can find it on, I know that it's on Android. I think you can also get it on the App Store on iDevices, but I'm not 100% sure. I think so. I think it's on both. Luminous Tarot app is not just a typical tarot app, although it does have a deck with meanings that it tells you, so it hits that baseline. But specifically, it is a manifestation app. It is an app for setting a goal, new moon to new moon, and evaluating what you are at various stages of the moon cycle with these tarot readings that it prompts you with. You don't have to do anything. The app is like, hey, yo, the moon is waxing. Here's a reading you can do to evaluate where you are with your goal. And the readings vary as the moon cycle varies, and also ideally as you vary, right? As you grow along your goal. So Luminous Tarot app, look it up on the App Store or on the Play Store. I highly recommend it, and I've been using it a long time, and I know a couple of the folks on Discord have gotten into it. Okay, Judah says, Arg, I overslept and I'm late. Hi. Can I just say story of my life? I actually want to share something with you too. Another way that I diverge with the productivity police, because I'm someone who's obsessed with productivity, is part A that you should know of this. But part B is that everyone seems to have the one size fits all advice of like, get up an hour earlier in the morning. The early bird catches the worm. That's how to do it. I'm here to tell you that I am someone who is I have a different sleep cycle. I forget what you call it. Starts with a C. The cycle of a wakiness and a sleepiness. I'll think of the word later. I'm just pushed a couple hours later than most people. I tend to stay up a little later. I tend to sleep a little later. Still be awake for the same number of hours as the average person, but I have noticed that I feel more fatigued when I am forced to kind of toe the line of the typical schedule that has people get up at 6 or 7 in the morning and go to bed around 9 or 10 at night. Even if I am getting the same amount of sleep, I feel better. I feel less fatigued if I sleep when it's more in line with my natural rhythms, which is a couple hours later than that of most people. And like, it's one of these things where rules of thumb seem to become law for some people. And I want to give us big permission to not follow every rule of thumb that a guru on the internet gives us, and instead to be like, well, how does that work for me? And if it doesn't work for you, I encourage you to be like, hell with that. I won't do it. I can still be productive. I don't have to get up half an hour earlier. For me, embracing my sleep schedule has helped me be more productive because it's helped me be more alert and human during the hours that I am awake. Anyway, I can't shut up today, guys. I have a lot of opinions. Anyway, we're glad you're here. Patty Bell says it has been a rocky road this month. Yeah, it has. Grayson says, yeah, diet changes were for health reasons, but I'm not going to complain that I'm down a pant size as of this week. Big feels on that. I really, really, as a human being who is trying to be a somewhat healthy human being and also in my 30s trying to learn how to take care of my body, honestly, the way maybe I wish I had in my 20s, because I was, like I said, I spent my whole 20s being a workaholic without a lot to show for it. I really, really like the concept of like health first. Like let's do functional health where we feel better and we are not stressed about our bodies, like giving out on us because we're not taking proper care of them. And I also get it. You know what I mean? Like I absolutely do have like a pair of pants or a dress or whatever that I'm like, "Ooh, but I could fit into that again sometime." But I really don't like the thing of like, let's equate weight with health. You know what I mean? Like, let's instead equate doing healthy practices with health. It's a concept. So, anyway, good work, Grayson. I am here to specifically commend you on the habit change because that's the really impactful thing. And to like celebrate with you if that also yields good changes for you about like, clothing size and stuff, which I get, believe me. All right. Judith says it's not about sacrifice, it's about finding your center. Big mood. Yeah. It's about finding what works for you in particular. Because for me, for example, we get these pushy things like, turn off the TV, turn off the Netflix. I've never been a big TV watcher. So being told to recover time by turning off my TV is just irrelevant to me. And there was a time in my life when it made me feel like, oh, I'm winning. I'm not watching TV every night or whatever. And that wasn't it, friends. That was not the tea. It only meant that wasn't my particular habit. We all have good habits and we all have bad habits and we all have things that serve us and things that sabotage us. And sometimes it's a line, right? Sometimes there's too much of a good thing. I love to take walks. And I can overdo it, and I have a blister on the bottom of my foot to prove it right now, right? I love to drink wine, and we all know what happens when you overdo drinking wine. So there are things that serve us, and there are things that sabotage us, and sometimes it's the same thing, and it's about the amount and the approach and the mindfulness, which I think is what Judith's comment, like it's about finding your center. It's about you. It's about your truth. It's about knowing the thing that works for you, which doesn't have to be what like the culturally prescribed information is. Judith says, this is such a blessing, Rory Kelly, finding a beautiful community. Oh, thanks. Circadian rhythm. Thank you. Thank you, Grayson. I'm like, is it cicadas? Is it something about cicadas? Like, no, don't say cicada, Rory. Thank you. Yes, circadian rhythms. Did you know, by the way, our circadian rhythms are actually a little bit longer than 24 hours, and it has been surmised, this is theory, not fact, that the reason this may be is because the Earth's rotation, as we know, is slowing down. Very slowly it's slowing. And so days are, 24 hours, might have been a different number of hours in the past, right? When humans evolved and came into being, the length of a day might not have been the exact same as it is today. Anyway, our circadian rhythms are a little more than 24 hours. And the way that this has been demonstrated is that in studies of blind people, i.e. people whose circadian rhythms are not triggered by light, as many of us are, light influences melatonin and stuff like that. In studies of blind people, if they don't keep to the kind of typical schedule that a diurnal person, the opposite of nocturnal person would do, there's a tendency towards something called free running, which basically means the day kind of skewing a little bit later and a little bit later and a little bit later until eventually you're really off cycle. And I've noticed that tendency in myself as well. So it's just really interesting. It's interesting, and it's important to me to talk about little things like this because it's one of these areas where the kind of current mainstream dialogue around it doesn't totally get it wrong and is obviously influenced by our culture, right? Like it's obviously influenced by this workaholic, like slightly puritanical culture of like, just get up earlier, you lazy, you lazy bum. Anyway. Judith says, a sleepiness is a great word. Thank you. And also, yay, opinions. And then Judith says, yay, Grayson. And Grayson says, thanks, Judith. All right. So I'm now caught up with the comments. Thank you so much for being in my world for this. And, just being a part of my universe. I was thinking about it today as I was driving around running errands. And I was thinking about how how I would label myself at this moment in history. There was a time when it was very important for me to label myself as a full-time musician, a label I can still reasonably claim, you know. And I think at the crux of it, though, the way that I want to provide for myself, provide value to the world, both things incredibly intertwined for me, is creating community, is bringing people together and creating communities where we celebrate each other, where we have a patchwork quilt rather than a melting pot ideal. So everyone's individuality contributes to the beauty of the whole rather than the kind of assimilation vibes you get from a melting pot where everything kind of just melts down into one thing. I really like the patchwork quilt metaphor better. And I like us all being celebrated and appreciated as individuals and different, you know. And I think that's like my path. That is the way I want to do it. For me as a self-employed person, I want to create communities where we all just love on each other and support each other and be a part of each other's growth. So, the questions I asked yesterday in my Discord to my patrons, I'm going to pull a Discord up right now so I can ask them, because I think that is a helpful way to kind of do some recon, do some good takeaway from your manifestation month. And I encourage you now, this is the new moon, by the way, it's the dark of the moon. And you might remember at the very beginning, when we first started this challenge, I encouraged you not even to immediately set the goal, but to do some reflection first. And then to set the goal, and then to do some more reflection before you were like leaping into action to reflect on, you know, what this goal would mean to you, how it would feel to you. And you know that during my reflection, I jumped around to a few different goals and landed on one that made more sense to me. So I encourage you during the dark of the moon to make it be reflective and make it not be a time when you have to be productive, when you have to be on to the next thing. There is a time and a place for pushing towards a goal. There is also a time and a place for reflection and introspection. And maybe the reason I'm obsessed with that is because I was born with Mercury in retrograde. I just found that out. Judith Wyman did my chart and taught me. And it's the interesting thing about, I find this with both astrology and tarot, where it's both like, wow, what a revelation. And also like, yeah, I've known that my whole life, you know, like where you're like, wow, validation, you know, like this, yes, this is who I am. I am this exact type of weirdo, and the stars prove it. So here are the questions that I asked in my Discord yesterday evening. And this is what I would like you to consider as you evaluate how your manifesting went. Find value, because learning is cyclical. New moon to new moon, we come full circle. Each time we go around the circle, think of it like a spiral. We get a little more competent. We get a little higher. We get a little smarter. We get a little wiser. We get a little braver. So this time around the circle, what were your takeaways? Like that's what I'm trying to get at with this. How can we acknowledge that level up and embody it and internalize it? So the questions are, what did you learn from your manifesting quest this month? Big things, small things. I suggest even making a laundry list if you feel like it. What positive progress can you celebrate? We've celebrated positive progress from a few people in the comments. And are there any pitfalls you now know to look out for in the future? I was really hesitant to include that last one because I wanted it to be like a positive thing. But I also think like part of positivity, part of having a better life and vibing high or whatever, you know, like part of being a committed person and being your biggest self is acknowledging that there are pitfalls, right? That there's like a sand trap, you know, where we can get caught and we can get stuck. Patty Bell, I know, has been talking a lot about how social media is that kind of sand trap. And also it's the kind of thing like we talked about earlier, where sometimes it serves us, sometimes it sabotages us, right? And the line is in how much and how we engage with it. And that's the kind of thing I mean when I say like, what are some pitfalls you can watch out for, you know? Pitfalls for me, I think that I have learned about are underestimating the time it takes, not for me to hit a goal, but the fact that hitting a goal often generates more work. And I mean that in a positive way. It's the best kind of work. But for example, I released an album this year. It feels wonderful. It's a great accomplishment. And it left me with this huge to-do list. I'm like, yes, album release is done. Oh gosh, now I have to get CDs manufactured. Like, I did a crowdfunding campaign. I raised a certain amount of money. I completed recording. Now it's like time to record, time to manufacture CDs, time to manufacture vinyl, time to get everyone their stuff. Stickers, tarot readings, buttons, t-shirts, CDs, vinyl, which is still in the making, by the way, if you're a supporter. And then time to like promote it, right? Then you're like, wow, I accomplished this thing and I want to give it its best chance. And so now there's this whole new to-do list of me getting my message that I created out to more ears. And that's something I have failed to acknowledge in the past, that it's not just about hitting the goal, because the goal itself comes with additional things to do, which I'm glad to do, but which I have to plan the time for. I can't be surprised anymore. I can't be like, oh, wow, all of this work that I did to create this life for myself as a full-time musician means that I have to spend a lot of time on the business of being a full-time musician. Like, who would have guessed? I have to not be blind to it. I have to acknowledge, like, hey, these things just take time, and it doesn't mean I'm failing. It means that you can't always, sometimes you need to be doing the admin things. You need to be treading water. You need to be just holding steady where you are, and that's the season that you're in at the moment. That's a season I've been in, and it's been frustrating for me. And that's okay. Another takeaway for me was that there are certain things that burn me out that are not about working too hard. I get burnt out by not working on goals that are meaningful to me. Can anyone relate to that? If there's something that's important to you, but you have to keep putting it aside, whether it's something as simple as spending more quality time with your kids or with a loved one, or something like building a business that you're trying to build, or something like going after a hobby, learning the piano, learning to draw, learning to paint. For me, I feel burned out when I can't do those goals, when I can't do progress on those goals. It doesn't mean getting all the way to them, just when I can't be working on those things that mean something to me. And often in our current paradigm, here we go again, in our current capitalist paradigm, we have to trade working on our heart goals for working on the goal of making sure we stay fed and clothed and with a roof over our heads, right? We have to be like, well, I really want to work on that goal, but unfortunately, every single one of my waking hours today is just going to be devoted to the goal of I got to pay my bills. Oh, well, right? And then recover from paying my bills. So that's a thing that I learned about my own burnout, and maybe it's relatable for you, is that I don't just get burned out from doing too much. I get burnt out from not making time for what really truly matters to me, even if that itself is quote unquote work. Patty Bell says, I have to be making creative stuff for my well-being. Big mood. Grayson says, yep. Judith says, yes, agree. Okay, good. I'm glad it's not just me. I mean, it doesn't surprise me, because I've learned over the years there's a certain type of person I tend to resonate with, and that I am desperate to connect with as well. And it tends to be people who are march to the beat of their own drummer, are creative, are compassionate human beings, and are driven by something bigger than just like the mainstream stair-step thing that we are all kind of indoctrinated into. So thank you all for being those people. Thank you for being in my world. So how about you? That's going to be my last question for you today, is what have been your takeaways about yourself? Maybe that are unrelated to your goal, like maybe just takeaways that are like, well, this is a thing I learned about me, that you have learned during this time. And bonus question, is anyone going to continue doing this? Like I really enjoyed this. I don't think it makes sense for me and my goals right now to keep doing like every week we're doing a manifesting broadcast or whatever. I think a one-off thing felt good to me. And maybe I'll package that even into a course or something later, that I can kind of do evergreen. Because again, I invite you, like, go back and watch these videos every month. It's the same every month, and you will change every month. So the meaning of it will change for you every month. It's like, as I have been sharing this stuff with you, I have intended for it to be something that is not just one and done, that, something that we can all come back to and grow with. So what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on new moon to new moon manifestation? Does it work for you? Are you thinking of continuing? Do you have a goal you want to work on and or continue working on for this next new moon? How would you do it differently if you could do it all over again? Because guess what? You can do it all over again. It's the new moon again. Patty Bell says, I'm going to continue with the new habits and projects I started. Cheers. I'm going to drink some water right now. Hydration checkpoint while you guys answer my question. Judith says, taking major steps to getting rid of stuff, making space to make room for the goal. Yes, I love it. Grayson says, I'm thinking about it, not rewatching videos though. Yeah, I feel that. Also, I feel like all of y'all who are in the comments right now, like, you're on the Patreon, you're on the Discord, like, we've been going through a journey that is even bigger than the videos together. And, you know, one of the things I love, for example, about the Luminous Tarot app is that it's the same questions again and again throughout the month, but each month they're different, right? Each moon cycle, those same questions feel different to me and are answered differently depending on my focus and on the context of the moment and what I'm working towards. So I like it, you know. I like doing the new moon to new moon thing. I don't want it to feel like this stagnant thing, which it can, I think. There have been times when, because I like to organize my life, I have some interesting stuff going on with Saturn in my chart, apparently, that contributes to this. For me, organizing feels helpful and healthy. It feels like, yes, I have organized my getting to my goal. I feel good. I have a plan I can follow. But then I also feel stressed if I am following my plan to the point where I have no room to be, you know, thoughtful and strategic and spontaneous. So there's a balance, you know, that needs to happen. And I think that especially with like moon cycle stuff, there was a time when I was like, this is what I do with the new moon. I make my goals and I set my intention and I do a ritual. This is what I do with the full moon. I do a, you know, whatever, Celtic cross spread for myself and I check in. And this is, you know, like, and making it regulated like that made it start feeling like an obligation rather than this joyful learning experience that I was on. So it's like we have to find that happy ground, I think, of what's enough, right? What's useful to do cyclically, because I do find a lot of use in cyclic habits. And like every month I henna my hair and I ask myself what I need and I put a couple ingredients in my like henna concoction that reflect that. And that's like a really nice ritual for me. And every month I do check in on like my goals. I set goals at the beginning of 2021 and around the first week of the month, I'm always like, how am I doing? Do I need to make adjustments? You know, that's helpful for me. When it gets too ornate and too much like this big prescribed to-do list, it doesn't let us grow, right? Then we're like a slave. Then I'm a slave to past Rory. Like past Rory thought this would be a good idea. Like, you better do this every month. And current Rory's like, I don't know. I have some other things I'd like to do, but I don't have time to do all of it. You know, we need to give ourselves room to evolve. Anyway, I think I'm going to sign off at this time. And thank you all for participating in this with me. And also I want to say thank you and welcome. Like, we have a couple of new patrons who've joined in the last 4 weeks. I'm so excited about that. I'm so excited to have new faces in the community. I'm so excited about the way the familiar faces in the community, which I'm talking about, you know, y'all who are tuned in and commenting right now, who really like make the mood of this. Because I'm not, as you know, I'm not a very hands-on like moderator type. I'm the person who's like, I seek out the people that I know I'm meant to connect with, that feel like my people. And truthfully, because those people tend to be compassionate and somewhat self-aware, and have a concept that, you know, of this co-creating reality thing that I talk about, that we all influence each other, I don't tend to need to do a lot of moderation. I set base rules that are like safe space rules, but then everyone just tends to naturally be a decent person and follow those rules, and it feels great. And I love it. And I love the conversations we have so much, and I love the tangents we have and the puns we make. So thank you for being in my world, everybody. And let's see. I'm going to be, I think I might have already announced that I'm going to be doing a Sassafras cast episode next week. So if you're in the Patreon, you know you have a front row virtual seat to that. And lots of other things coming up. I can't seem to ever stop. So stay tuned for more. And I wish the same for you. I wish for you to never stop feeling inspired and excited and creative. Farewell, friends. Oh, in case I didn't get to tell you, you won the challenge. Whoever you are, whatever you did, wherever you got, you won the challenge. You did a good job. If you're beating yourself up, you're wrong because you won. You did a really good job, and I look forward to this continuing to contribute to your growth. Bye.